In this training module, you'll be learning about vehicles called control cars or cab cars. In the UK, they're often called driving van trailer or DVT cars, and you will likely come across other names for them too. The name cab car will be used for the rest of this module to keep it simple. Cab cars are essentially a passenger under their own power. The way that a cab car works is it will remotely control a locomotive at the other end of the train, and this is where it's important to understand their behavior as being a little different to the cab experience of the locomotive itself. There may be a little lag in control response, and you may not quite have the same instrument outputs as you do in the locomotive itself. For this module, you'll be taking this German Doppelstock cab car, which has a BR146.2 locomotive at the other end, setting it up and then driving it forwards to a marker at the other end of the yard area. Revisit this module a couple of times to try different things out and get familiar with the subtle difference when driving from the cab car. One of the biggest and most obvious differences when driving from the cab car is that there's a lot less sound, since all the motors and fans One of the biggest and most obvious differences when driving from the cab car is that there's a lot less sound. Since all the motors and fans are at the other end of the train, it can be a little disconcerting at first. Engage the brake system by turning this key. Put the reverser in forwards. Turn on the headlights and set the signal light switch to headlights. Most German trains have these two controls to enable headlights, one on the desk and one on the back wheel. Ensure the doors are closed. Release the brakes and apply some power to get moving. It feels a little odd at first. All the audio cues you're used to in the cab aren't present here, so you just need to give the locomotive time to react to your commands. Experiment with some power and some brakes and see how the train reacts. You may find some sharp jolts happening because of how the slack is being bunched up or stretched out by the loco at the back. You can minimize this by making your first power or brake applications lighter and then increasing them. You'll get used to this with practice and experience. You may find some sharp jolts happening because of how the slack is being bunched up or stretched out by the loco at the back. You can minimize this by making your first power or brake applications lighter and then increasing them. You'll get used to this with practice and experience. Cut the power and coast the rest of the way.